When Jack's company was taken over by another firm, they closed down their branch offices in Boston and Denver and laid off all the staff. After 2 years, the company was doing so well, they started to branch out and take on new staff. Let's discuss.
Welcome to another Happy English podcast coming to you from New York City. And here's your English teacher, Michael.
All right, thank you, John, and thanks, everyone. It's Michael here from Happy English, and I help people speak English better. And this is Happy English Podcast, episode 688, Business Change Phrasal Verbs. Phrasal verbs are a huge part of English in both everyday English conversation and in the business world. For today's English lesson, we're going to have a look at 6 different phrasal verbs that we can use to talk about various changes in business. Let's dive in. The first one is take over. Take over means to assume control or responsibility for something, often a business or organization. When a person replaces someone else in the job, we can say that they take over from that person. Here are some examples. The multinational corporation acquired a smaller company to take over their market share. The CEO announced his retirement and named his successor to take over the company. Mr. Hager took over from Mr. Roth when he left the organization. Next, we have close down. Close down means to stop operating or stop running a business. For example, the small bookstore downtown had to close down due to stiff competition from online retailers. That beer factory is closing down at the end of the month. The restaurant decided to close down temporarily for renovations and will reopen in November. The next one is branch out. Just like the branches of a tree that move out from the trunk of the tree, when a company branches out, they expand their business into new areas. We also use branch out when we talk about a person who expands or extends their interests or activities into new areas. Here are some examples. The company plans to branch out into international markets to increase their customer base. After years of designing clothes, Maria decided to branch out and start her own fashion line. John wants to branch out from his current job and explore opportunities in a different industry. There is a podcast from All Ears English called Business English. Do you want to feel more confident with your business English? Would you like to build skills to invite your colleagues out after work? Or learn what to say in a meeting? How about writing a more clear email in English? The hosts, Lindsay, Michelle, and Aubrey, show you real business English vocabulary for the global economy in the Business English podcast. They cover English writing, presentations, small talk and socializing at work, job interviews, telephone English, and more. Follow the new Business English podcast from All Ears English. Just type All Ears English into your search bar wherever you are listening to this podcast right now and choose Business English Podcast and hit follow. The next phrasal verb today is step down, which means to resign or leave a position or a job. In other words, step down means to quit, but we tend to use step down when we talk about people who are at the executive or senior management level of an organization. For example, after serving as CEO for 10 years, Mark decided to step down and hand over the reins to his successor. The chairman announced his intention to step down at the end of the year. Mary's boss encouraged her to step down from her current managerial role and take on a new challenge in a position overseas. Lay off means to end the employment of staff, usually due to financial problems in the company. We use lay off in both temporary and permanent situations. Here are some examples. The company had to lay off several employees to cut costs during the economic downturn. More than half of the factory workers were laid off for 2 weeks because of an inventory surplus. The management decided to lay off some workers from the night shift due to low demand for their products. The last one for today is take on. Take on means to employ or hire new staff. Here are some examples. The company is planning to take on new employees to support their expansion plans. After interviewing several candidates, they finally took on a talented marketing specialist. Our team needs to take on additional members to meet the project deadline. Keep in mind, the best way to remember this or any vocabulary is to take the word or phrase, write it in a sentence that's true for you or true in your world, and then memorize your sentences. Well, that's all the time we have today for this English lesson. Thanks for letting me help you branch out your English. If you'd like to get more practice using your English, why don't you join my Podcast Learners Study Group? There, you can make new international friends, join me for live group coaching every week, plus get the PDF transcript and audio download for every Happy English podcast in the past and in the future. And each episode has exercises where you can practice this English point with speaking and writing checked by me. To learn more or to see some of the example sentences from this lesson, just visit myhappyenglish.com and choose podcast lesson 688. Remember, learning another language is not easy, but it's not impossible, and I'm here to help you on your journey.
This podcast was brought to you by Happy English. Please visit myhappyenglish.com. Show your support for Happy English by leaving us a review. Get English, get happy, Happy English.